let's get started with the games. I like to analyze those with you. If you have any questions, feel free. As you know, you definitely can use the chat room and say anything you wish, ask anything you want, and share your thoughts with me. So let's get started. Uh, Finally, we have to start with the game of Botwinic, and in this game, he was white. So let's get started. Okay, after like knight f3, red the opening. Nowadays, the modern chess, I see this move more often every single day. Okay, so after knight f3, d5, e4, e6. You see, they just started with a ready opening, but can easily go to some sort of queen's gambit declined, or if c takes d5, he takes d5 and d4, they can go into queen's gambit orthodox exchange typical line. Anyways, Botwinic went for b3. Not the most popular continuation nowadays, but we're seeing this line quite often in modern chess. I believe that from time to time, some top players like to go with these lines. After knight f6, bishop e2, bishop e7, e3, castles, knight c3, e5, c takes, and for the first time, I'd like to stop here and to ask you a couple of questions. We're having a very interesting situation here. We're actually having a game. This is an important moment for this game. Black had to decide whether he should capture by pawn, by e6 pawn, or by knight on d5. I see that there are some problems with the chat room, and that basically people cannot chat with me at the moment. So I'll be waiting for this to fix, and as soon as they fix the chat room, you can start suggesting your moves and give me your ideas. The real question here is, should black capture by knight or by pawn e6 takes d5? This is important. This is important moment. Maybe this is even theoretical position, but it's not the subject of this lesson. And by the way, I'll keep reminding you, just because last time in our first lesson stream, we did like how to play with isolated pawn. Tonight we're going to have a lesson how to play against it. The very first assumption before we start exploring these type of games is, how is one supposed to play against the isolated pawn or IQP? There are two basic rules. I'm not sure if you remember them from the last time. And the very first rule is block the pawn. And second rule is keep trading off pieces. Because as more pieces as you're able to trade off, the weaker pawn gets. And from another point of view, they just have less pieces to defend it. And it's really, really bad for the worst side, or for the side who's playing with isolated pawn. As far as I see, they're still having problems with the chat room, but we just have to carry on doing this lesson, and I hope it's going to get better as the time goes by. Unfortunately, none of you can suggest at this moment should you capture by knight or by pawn. But let me just explain. Considering the fact that I just told you two basic rules, so block the isolated pawn and keep trading off pieces. Idea by black to take by knight on d5 uh, wasn't exactly the best idea. Why not? Because if the knight takes on d5, it's kind of commitment for black. So after this knight takes from c3, queen should take on d5. That didn't happen in this game, but when he took on d5, but this guy took by pawn. And for the very first time in tonight's streaming, we're having experience with the isolated pawn on d5. And the rest of the game will be based on blocking this pawn and trading off pieces all the time. They just told me that the chat is working, but unfortunately, I'm unable to see the chat. So just give me a sec. I just have to figure out a way to open that up as well. So just give me a sec. Okay, I'm opening that up. Yeah, chat is working. Open that up just well. So just give me a sec. Okay. So yeah, I do see your chat now. And I'm going to close this one on the left side of mine. So once again, I have to thank you for joining, and I'll hope that the number as the lesson goes by will definitely increase. So let's go. Dr. Elias is here. Dariush is there. Nimzobo, Mannered Monkey, and all of you guys. Okay, so let's go. Let's go. After e takes d5, what are you supposed to do with the white pieces here? I'd like to hear your opinion on this position and to see what would you do here. So how would you play after e takes d5? What do you think? How should you play after black took by pawn on d5? Echo Case is there. Nitsut Prime Shu, all of you guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to join, feel free to suggest. Just like I told you, I'll definitely fulfill all your wishes. This is not the last stream, so we're gonna start doing the series of these streams, and we're gonna have like tons of lessons in the future on different middle game and opening topics. So feel free to suggest me some ideas and topics about the lessons. Okay. Thank you very much. Echo, Kaz, Nimzobo, Elias, Online Wiki, all of you guys, and the Changer, all of you just said play the d4. Absolutely. So you should play the d4. You're just fixing the pawn on d5 and pointing out how weak this pawn is going to be in the rest of the game. I just have to go back. You remember when I said that when they captured by knight, I kind of consider knight takes d5 being a suspicious move, because it's committing black to take by queen on d5. Why by queen? Because taking by pawn, he's just playing. He's just compelling himself on playing with an IQP or isolated pawn. In my opinion, queen had to take here, no matter if this position looks slightly better for white, and it definitely does. Probably white would play bishop c4, attacking the queen with a tempi. Don't forget, guys, you should always follow three basic rules out of the openings. It's the CAD rule: centralization, activity, and development. Those are three basic things. So after bishop c4, you're just developing your piece, you're attacking the queen with tempi, and of course you're opening up the back rank, uh, trying to put your king in the safety once you make short castle. So after bishop c4 in this position, they just probably they would play queen h5. I guess this is the best move, but no matter what I do, most likely white should go with the castles and d4 next. Although Botwinnik's opponent took by pawn, and this is exactly the topic of our lesson, we should go now with d4. D4 is a strong move because it's fixing the isolated pawn on d5, and you're just trying to take on c5 and to definitely create that d5 pawn being an isolated. Okay, so after d4, Maya Fong is there. Maya Fong, welcome. I was waiting for you, man. Thank you so much for your support in all previous streams, including this lesson stream. After d4, c takes d4, queen takes d4. This is very clever decision by Botwinnik. By the way, at the beginning of the lesson, I told you that he was coaching Kasparov, he was coaching Karpov. He was one of the best classics. When we mentioned classic GMs, we're talking about Smyslov, Botwinnik, Petrosyan, Tal, and these guys amongst those world champions. And he really, really gave a great benefit to this game in the past. They call him oligarch, which means everybody in the chess world knew how strong he was. The other day I was reading an article about him, and I believe Tal was explaining how
hello, beautiful.
Somebody Bacon DMC23 is now chessbrah. Thanks for subscribing. We appreciate that, and we're very thankful. And let me just carry on with the story about the Botwinnik, or AK oligarch. Tal was explaining how he, in some mutual time trouble, was thinking like for 15 minutes and found like tons of variations. When in post-mortem analysis, he analyzed that with Botwinnik, in pretty much exalted, explaining to him what he saw. Botwinnik said, so what? You just had to play this move, to play this type of position, and the game should be slightly better for me. And Tal was absolutely amazed because with one simple move, without any calculation, he just solved all the problems in the mutual time trouble and eventually even won the game. It's very interesting, and it shows how important it is to have a deep understanding of this game. This kind of lessons should provide this to you. And in terms of fighting against the isolated pawn, have a look at this queen takes d4 move. It's a very smart decision by Botwinnik because he's taking by queen threatening mate in 1. But it's not about threatening mate in 1. I mean, nobody is going to blunder, or nobody should blunder this move even in a bullet game. It's about forcing this guy to play bishop f6. And what are you actually getting after this move, bishop f6? You're putting your queen back to d2, and after queen d2, knight c6, playing bishop e2. So what's the point? Now, black just needs to stay with this bishop and this diagonal as long as possible, or he just doesn't want to admit that he played bishop f6 and that he made a mistake, but he didn't make a mistake. He was forced to do so. But Botwinnik very cleverly forced his opponent to put that bishop on f6, and afterwards he's just going to swap it off for the bishop on b2. Very clever, because if you remember, we're just talking about two basic rules against the isolated pawns. Block them and keep trading and exchanging pieces. So after bishop e2, bishop e6, castles, bishop b2, queen b2, and queen to a5. I'd like to stop here, and this is a great momentum to stop with this lesson and to ask you, what would you do in this position? A very, very educational example, great game, and in my opinion, this was one of the crucial moments of this game. In this game, we're going to check two extremely important positional methods. The first method is fighting against the isolated pawn. And after this lesson and throughout the following three examples, you should definitely have a better idea how to play against them. But very interesting is going to be another rule. There are so many books. The best book, one of the best books in the world for that is Tereshevsky's Middle Games. It's that you have to create two weaknesses. So I'm just talking about the principle of two weaknesses. In order to realize your positional advantages, you'll need to create like two weaknesses. Let me just have a look what is happening in the chat room, and let me just give you a task. Look at this position, have a look at it, and you just have to come up with plan for white. So guys, we're looking for a plan for white. I'd like to say hello to the Thousand Master and to Redfish Finder. I appreciate you're there. Oh, do I see Eric Hansen as well? I believe he came here to learn something. He will always be my student. So let's go, guys. We're looking for a plan. No, we're not looking for a move. Please, we're looking for a plan for white. Meanwhile, while you're looking for a plan for white, I'd just like to tell you another very famous statement by Botwinick, who said,
"Why, hello, beautiful."
As far as I see, Echo Kaz tried for like next 6 months. He's gonna like these lessons. See Stefan won as well for the next 10 months. Nimzobo for the next 13. Bacon DMC23 as well. You all, as far as I see, you all wanna learn this game. This is good. Well, that's what I'm doing for you. I'm teaching you to afterwards beating up Hansen and Hamilton in your Blitz and Bullet games against them. So let's go. Let's go now for a plan here for white. So please, once again, I'm gonna keep repeating. We're looking not for a move, but for a plan for white. And keep in mind, from this point onwards, everything will be based on blocking the pawn on d4, but also doing and fulfilling the principle of two weaknesses. Please, guys, this is a new expression for you. This is something completely new, and the principle of two weaknesses is necessary in the end games or middle games if you want to win a game, because one weakness is considered to not to be enough to play for a win, and one weakness could be defended well, but two weaknesses not. Okay, while you're thinking about the plans for white, please come back to me in the chat room. Let me just see who's there. Okay, Redfish Finder, Boran Bunjan, hello man, Danger, Frozen Edge, Gilear 17, Nimzobo, Nitsud Prime, And many, many more of you. Ding Slayer, GG. Okay, so let's go, guys. Sorry if I'm getting closer to monitor and doing like this, but it's because I'm looking occasionally in a chat room, checking what you wrote to me. So we're looking for a plan for white. I'm still waiting for your plans. Nitsud Prime said knight d4, rook f to d1. Please, when you come up with your move, try to give me explanation. Why would you like to do so? And of course, I'll explain you what are you supposed to do in similar type of games. Uh, okay. Thank you, Buran Banjan. He liked my lesson once again, just because there are many of you now. Thanks a lot for your support. I really appreciate that, and I do hope you like it. Judging by all those comments on YouTube channel and so many views after just 3 days, I'm very, very satisfied. I see that you're as well. Knight d4. Most of you said knight d4. Okay. Mr. Holmes said black pieces are on the queen side. We could try and create matrix while simultaneously pressuring the d5. I can agree with that. Judge that said double up on the c file and trade off knights. Double up this on the c file. Wait a sec. If you want to go after the d5 pawn, if you want to block it, if you want to go over the d4 square, why would you double up your rooks on the c file? I don't get it. You need your rooks on the d file. Most of you came up with the knight d4 and rook f to d1. That was a very good point, and those who mentioned these moves and wrote them to me in the chat room, they were absolutely right. So yeah, we do play in this position. We do play in this position this move. So we're just going for rook f to d1, and after rook f to d8, the real question is, should black go after rook f to d1 with rook ac1 or rook d2 followed by rook a to d1? Okay. Earlier 17 said, do I see only subscribes? No, if you make some donations, I'm gonna see that. And I told you the last time, you don't have to be that supportive. Every single one of you, just to give $1, you're gonna make me happy, and you're also going to be happy because not so much money is going to get out of your pockets. Okay. Redfish Finder said, why not first knight d4? Absolutely the same. You're absolutely right, and it's okay, of course. Yeah, you can play knight d4. Playing the knight d4 first, or rook f to d1, it's pretty much the same type of thing. I have to come back to chat room and some of your chats. Frozen Edge, just $1 for happiness. Okay. Batchev, hello Ruben. Okay, so let's go. Most of you asked me why rook f to d1 first, why not knight d4? Absolutely okay, same idea, blocking the pawn on d4, changing the pieces, but please, keep in mind, we're going to exchange these knights if they want to exchange them. We're not going to take on c6. Because if we take on c6, what are they going to get? They're going to get, instead of isolated pawn, they're going to have hanging pawns. That's a little bit different in comparison with the topic of this lesson. So let's go now with our exploration of this game. Okay. Okay, so let's carry on with with the game. Rook f to d1, rook f to d8, rook d2. Many of you mentioned the idea of lining up these rooks along the d file. You know, rooks belong to an open files. Considering this fact, we could just say that the guy who previously mentioned, let's double the rooks up on the C file and trade off the knights, he could be fully right. But in this specific situation, yes, you do want to put and double your rooks on the D file. You do want to place your knight on the D4. And what's going to happen after you do all these things? That is the topic for tonight's lesson. So after rook to d2, it's their turn. Rook d7, rook a d1, rook a d8. We play h3. This guy played h6. I'd like to spend just a few seconds explaining the h3. Botwinick is playing this very calm and very normal move. Maybe h3 doesn't look that normal to many of you, but h3 is okay move. He just wants to open up the back rank. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to get mated at any point. He wants in some positions to stop some bishop g4, but mainly he's just opening the back rank. It's more like prophylaxis. Oligarch, second name for Botwinick, was very, very famous for his prophylaxing chess and moves in his game. Anyways, after this, Spinal Tap is there. Thank you. And you're just going to okay, you're just joining us here. So after you play like h3, the Thousand Master, thank you for being supportive and for donating us what everybody should do to make this lesson being fully successful. Anyways, okay, so echo. Okay, so after h3, h6, this is another important moment of this game. So I'd like to hear your opinion. What would you do in this situation? Which move would you go for white? Let's go. So this is Redfish Finder. Thank you. 101 bits. That's nice. Finding this lesson good. So what would you do in this position? Let's go. How would you play here? What would you do? And give me some moves. Please. I'm just waiting for your moves. Meanwhile, let me see the situation in the chat room. So we're looking for a move for white. Okay. I'm waiting for your suggestions. Knight d4. You can also come up with candidates. Ravajbag said 95. Boran Banjan said a3 followed by b4. Nimzobo said 95. The changer said knight d4, exerting the pressure on the d5, playing the bishop f3 next. Online Wiki 94. So as far as I see, all of you guys suggested different moves, and you kind of have like different solutions to this position. I'm still gonna give you like 1 or 2 more minutes before I come up with the move from the game. Don't forget, we're analyzing the game between Botwinick and Zagoryansky played back to an old 1943. Squeeze space or trade? Said Redfish Finder. Peter 94 said 95. Mr. Holmes 94. Fake and DMC 94. Most of you says 94. Warren Bunjan said A3 followed by B4. That's an interesting idea, I have to admit. Shadow said King H1. An interesting idea. And Nimzobo said King F1 centralization. You don't want to centralize yourself if the queens are on board and if like a good amount of pieces are still on board. You don't want to centralize yourself like this. Somebody said bishop to d3. Earlier 17. You know what? If you're going for bishop d3 followed by bishop b1 and queen c2 doing the battery, I'm not sure that you're going to succeed because your idea here is not to attack, but your idea is to prepare for an endgame, to constantly keep exchanging pieces, and finally, after you do that, to create second weakness. Apparently, the d5 pawn is one weakness, but where is the second? That's the question. So maybe better for energy. Earlier 17, he doesn't like this kind of boring type of chess. Well, I don't like it either, but that's the way it goes, man, and you have to be ready to play like this. So let's go. I'm gonna continue with the game. In this position, white Botwinick played knight e5. Great move. He didn't want to play knight d4 because if he goes knight d4, it's pretty similar to the idea of knight e5 because he's offering this guy to trade off these knights. Do you know what's the problem? This guy cannot play the rook d6 because knight c4, nice tactics gonna happen here. And then if you take, he's gonna just win an exchange and win the game. So even when you play highly positionally, like Botwinick does in this game, you constantly have to keep looking at some basic tactical tricks, just like in this position that happened with a knight c4. After like knight e5, the problem of rook d6 is obvious. They can put the rook on c7, but they don't want to have the rook on c7 in a game like this because these rooks definitely belong to an open, not to an open, they belong to d file in order to defend d5 pawn. I just like to say one more thing. After the knight jumped on e5, white opened up the f3 square for the bishop to go there and to exert pressure on the d5 weak pawn. This is a very nice idea. And by the way, after knight e5, I don't see anything better for black but to take on e5. Very, very nice by Botwinick, and of course, he's just forcing this guy to keep trading off pieces. And of course, just like I told you at the beginning of this lesson, and for the billionth time during this lesson, just to repeat, you guys just want to exchange pieces, and you just want to keep blocking the d5 pawn over the d4 in the specific case. So after queen e5, queen c5 was in the game, and of course, he's now exerting the pressure on the d5 pawn with the bishop f3. But you know what? After this guy played b6, another prophylaxis. Sometimes if he pushes the d4, this b7 not to be hanging. Queen b2, rook c8, queen e5, rook cd8. Apparently, Zagoryansky was very happy with the draw in this game. He's very strangled in this position and he can barely move his pieces. But you know, this position by itself is probably the best possible, the best possible example to show you that one weakness could be easily held. And you can easily hold one weakness during the game. And here we go after the first part of this lesson, where we traded off like so many minor pieces. where we put the rook onto the open file, where we had like a great control along the blocking d4 square. Here we go to another point. Principle of two weaknesses. You won't be able to play top chess. You won't be able to compete against strong guys, to beat them up if you're unfamiliar with this one. Apparently d5 is one weakness, but it's not enough. So, question for you. Could you please come up with a plan for white and find a way to create a second weakness? This is probably the most important moment of this game, and you just have to find a way to go. Let's go now. What would you do in this position? So what would you do in this position? Create second weakness. First of all, d5 is not a problem, but you cannot do anything more than this. So what are you supposed to do in order to create a second weakness? Nimzobo said rook d4 followed by bishop g4. Nimzobo, what is your rating? You're a pretty good guy as far as I see, and you have some really, really good suggestions. Okay, so what is your rating? The new Maya Wednesday lessons are the best chessbrah yet. Redfish Finder. Thanks for being so supportive, and keep in mind, while Eric Hansen and Hamilton are smashing you in their streams, I'm just teaching you this game and trying to make you better to be able to beat them up, or just to oppose them and to oppose, just to play like a better game against these guys. So let's have a look. Let's have a look what is happening here. I once again open up the chat room, and now it's working. So maybe slightly underrated. Are you serious that your rating is 1550? Almost impossible. I see 100 and some streamers, but I'm expecting more. I'm expecting more. Many guys would pay for these lessons much more money, and I'm expecting many more guys as this lesson goes by. And so let me just have a look. Redfish Finder, I already forgot who Eric and Hambo are. Okay, so I'm still waiting for your suggestions. I'm flirting with subscribers. Yeah, I do, man. Okay. Rook d4, said Nimzobo. Bacon DMC said that as well. Okay. So Shadows Tiho, he's gonna watch, or Tijo, he's gonna watch these streams and lessons again. Yeah. Okay, thanks for being supportive. Okay. Maya gotta hit the prime time. It's a school time and work time in the US. Prime time is in 2 or 3 hours from now for viewers. Thank you so much for definitely being supportive and telling me these things. But okay, even though it's a prime time for United States and Canada, I believe this is a good time for Europeans. So we should have more of Europeans here in this channel. Anyways, I am still waiting for your suggestions regarding the plan for white, and please keep in mind this is an extremely important topic. Principle of two weaknesses. Where do you have the second weakness here? So let's go. Okay. Okay, you never wanna. Spinal Tap Chess said we never wanna play e4. No, we never wanna play e4 because e4 would be total disaster because he's facing one really big weakness. It's the d5 pawn, and if you play e4, you're just trading off the weakest piece in the black's game and immediately equalizing the game. immediately pack up your stuff, go home, and go to your wife and kids or your girlfriend and say, "No, I'm not for this game. Actually, I should play cricket. I should do some boxing. I should do hiking, running. I don't know, maybe bowling, like some grandpas, but definitely I shouldn't play this game." Uh, GR, R3MB, hello. So rook to d4 and bishop to g4, most of you said. Okay, let's now go with this lesson. In the game, he played rook to d4 and after a5. Rook to d4 was pretty much expected, to be honest. Uh, okay, not boxing. No, I didn't say boxing. I said bowling, man, bowling. Uh, so let's go. No, chess boxing is an interesting sport. What are you talking about? So rook to d4, blocking the pawn on d5, and doing something extremely interesting. So let's go. Let's go. Okay, you're now going to hit me for my words, bowling like for some grandpas, but okay, many of my friends are saying that you don't have like a worse game for like grandpas than chess, so we just have to understand these guys as well. Anyways, the move was g4, such an amazing move, creating like a second weakness. Bra, hello. Welcome here and hope you're gonna like these lesson streams. G4, such an amazing move. He wants to push the pawn up to G5. He wants to. He's actually taking advantage, believe it or not, of the black's move H6. Who would ever think of this, that the H6 could turn out to be so bad for black? So after G4, he just wants to play the G5. And what is he trying to do? All together with the pawn on d5, he just wants to create a weak pawn on g7. So he wants to play g5. What is he trying to do? Play g5, to play king somewhere, king h1 or king h2, to play rook to g1, eventually to trade off the light square bishops like bishop g4, and then suddenly to convert his game from pressuring the d5 pawn onto the g file, doubling these rooks onto the g file and going after second weakness. And it's so obvious now, it's the g7 pawn. This is fantastic idea, and I really think it's one of the key things in here. Okay, so after g4, black plays queen c6. He just keeps waiting. Actually, let's be honest, he's waiting to get killed, and he has nothing else to do, but he just has to wait. g5, h takes, queen takes, f6, queen g6. Maybe he now wants to play with the rook on h4. Not maybe, he does want to do that. And after bishop f7, queen to g3. For the first time, you're threatening rook to g4, and suddenly, all of a sudden, after like fighting against this d5 pawn all the time, now you're fighting against the g7 pawn as well. By the way, I'd like to remind you of something, because I see that the number of people is slowly but surely increasing in the room. Somebody, amongst all those really good feedbacks on YouTube channel and how you like my lessons, how you like my beauty, my outfit, and everything else. I just wanna tell you one funny thing. One guy mentioned basically, because I keep saying basically during the previous stream. So tonight, I believe that I haven't mentioned this word for one time. Anyways, basically. So for the first time, we're just having this rook g4 threat going against the g7 pawn. Thank you for this sexy looking man, but I rather want to hear that sing some girl. So don't get me wrong. After rook g4, you're going against the g7 pawn. And not just this one, not just this one. You also want to play king h1 followed by rook to g1. This is good. This is good, and for the first time, we see like tripling the heavy pieces along the g file. Guys, please don't get too horny. I rather want to see some girls doing this. Come on. So after like in this variation, he played queen g3. The guy wanted to stop the rook g4. So one mistake and one actually weakness is pulling out the another one. So he played the f5. Maybe this stops the idea of the rook g4, but it definitely weakens this pawn, making this one weaker and creating a new weakness on the g7. So let's go. After f5, queen g5. What is he trying to do? He's trying to point out how weak is the f5 pawn now. At the moment, Botwin, he hasn't created only two weaknesses, but we're fighting over a third as well. d5, f5, g7 pawns. So a very simple game that looked to many of you pretty drawish because the material was equal. They only had like one weakness. Now turned out to be almost this with the decisive advantage for white because at the moment there are like three weaknesses: d5, f7, and g7 pawns, f5 and g7 pawns. So let's have a look. How is he taking advantage of this? I'm very happy to see that the number is constantly increasing. This is good. You like it, but what I don't like, I don't see increasing of the nation. Simply any increasing of the nation. So I'm expecting a little bit more of you guys. Anyways, after like queen g5, okay. Boran Banjan, I'm a girl, but the only chessbrah I find attractive is Lefong. Okay, your choice. I respect that fully. Lefong is the best. Okay, so after queen g5, queen e6, defending this weakness. King h1, and is taking control of the g file. Now this rook is gonna move to the g1. Now he's gonna threaten the g7 pawn. He's gonna take advantage. He's gonna take advantage of the g file, and he's having like a wide range of possibilities. Rook f4, rook h4, doing and tripling these pieces. Even at some point, placing. Okay, he definitely wants to play rook g1, rook h4, rook h6. Coming up with some very nasty mating threats. Okay, so after I see some very funny comments about my look, about Lefong's look, and who wants to say anything about Eric Hansen and the way he's looking. Okay, so after like king to h1, queen e5, rook g1, rook f8. By the way, if you want something funny, ask Eric about his Ronaldo look and his haircut in Barcelona when I was coaching him there. He's gonna tell you one very interesting story. Anyways, after rook to f8, this is the very we're just getting closer to the end of this game. So he just played the queen h6, threatening a very concrete rook to h4, threatening mate on h7. So after queen h6, rook b8, he's just freeing the f8 square in case of rook h4. What actually happened in this game? Played the king f8, check, bishop g8, and after these sequence of more or less forced moves, we just have to see how terrible black position is right now. So after rook f4, he now wants to attack these pawns on g7 and f5, playing the rook g5. keeping the queen on h8. He's just tying up this king for the bishop on g8, tying up this queen for the pawn on g7, keeping the bishop on f3. He's not only pointing out that the d5 pawn is weak, but also defending and protecting even his own king on h1. Absolutely awesome strategy by Botvinnik. Rook g5, rook f7, and he played queen h5. For the first time in game, after such an amazing strategy, Black was forced to give up one of the pawns. As soon as he gives up first pawn, he's going to lose a game. Absolutely fantastic game. I couldn't, I believe, start this lesson working and teaching you how should you play and exploit the weakness of the isolated pawn with a better game than this one. In my opinion, this is one of the best examples and best games against the IQP. Once again, we're using this shortcut for the isolated queen pawns. Okay, Botvinnik or oligarch. Many people